In this video, we're going to talk about installing and using packages in R. So R already has a lot of base functions that are available to you that are already kind of built into the language itself. It even has some data sets that are available coded into the language itself that you can call on by name. However, other users of R might create something called a package where they create a custom function that is built from base functions, but it just does something very quickly and very efficiently by using that particular function that they've built rather than you having to use base functions to write a bunch of code. So we're going to be using a couple packages this semester. We're definitely going to be using tidyverse this semester, but before we install tidyverse, let's go ahead and install a much smaller package called Fairway. So I'll go ahead and make a new R script here, and I'm going to write install.packages, and then in quotation marks, the name of this package called Fairway, F-A-R-A-W-A-Y, so feel free to follow along with me. So when I run this function, R is going to install this package called Fairway that exists publicly, that somebody has created and made publicly available. And so when you run this code, you're going to see a whole lot of funky stuff going on over here. If you are in Posit Cloud, it's essentially just installing the package into your RStudio Cloud project so that you can call on it and use it. If you are using R on your personal computer, it is actually installing this as a folder onto your computer. I know if you're on PC, it's called, I think it's called WinLibrary. I don't actually remember what it's called on Mac. But it is actually installing it somewhere on your computer so that you can use it, you can access it on your personal computer when you're using R. Okay, so Fairway mostly just has data sets that this person who uploaded Fairway just put a bunch of data sets in there, mostly for teaching purposes, for people like me to assign to their students to use for different things. And so one of those data frames is called diabetes. So I'd like to take a look at that data frame called diabetes. However, in order to access this from Fairway, I don't think R is going to like this because it doesn't know where diabetes is, and that's because I actually haven't told it to look inside this package. So there's one more function that I need to use called library. So install I only have to do once, whereas library I have to do every time I enter RStudio and want to access this package. So I'm going to write library Fairway. Notice there aren't quotation marks in a library function, but they are required for install. So once I run this command, now R is going to know, okay, it can look inside this package called Fairway for information. And now I believe this should run. So this is a data frame, one of many that are saved inside this package called Fairway, and I can access that. Okay, so here's one thing about Posit Cloud users, is that when you want to use a package, normally I say that you only need to install it once, but it is install once per project. So if you wanted to go back to your workspace and you were to create a new project and you wanted to say use the Fairway package again, you would technically have to install the Fairway package again, just like you did here. However, if you are working within the same project, you only ever have to run this once and it has been installed. Whereas you do need to run the library every time you reopen the project. So if I left it and I came back to this project, I would have to run this again in order to use the functions or the data frames saved inside of this. If you're on a personal computer, it's kind of the same way, except that you're not on different projects. You're just going to have one version of R on your computer, in which case you only have to install it once unless you update your version of R, whereas you will need a library at every time you close and open RStudio again. Okay, let's go ahead and install tidyverse now. So tidyverse is a package of packages that has a whole lot of packages included. So this one takes a little bit more time to run. And again, you're going to see a lot of stuff going on in your console. You don't need to really understand what any of this means because, truthfully, I don't really understand what a lot of this means. But we will know when it's installed successfully. We should see something at the bottom here in just a bit. So I mentioned this is a package of packages, meaning that it does install a lot of different things. One of the specific packages is called ggplot2 that we'll definitely be using for visualization. There's a lot of other things, a lot of packages that are part of what's called the tidyverse that all kind of work together well. They're kind of designed together for a reason. So ggplot in particular is a really good visualization package that a lot of people like to use for visualization in R. You certainly can use base R functions for visualization, and you can still make some very nice visualizations with R. It's just not, I'd say the code is not as clean, and it's not as easy and intuitive to write when using base R functions for visualization. I'd say ggplot has a nice grammar to it. It has a nice kind of layout that's very consistent from different types of visualizations as you go. So it does take a little bit of time here on Posit Cloud. And here we are. So it should give you a message like this that lets you know it's successful, that the downloaded source packages are in, and then it will say some folder. So if it's, again, on a personal computer, this should be a very specific folder on your computer. Okay, and then now I can library tidyverse if I wanted to use tidyverse functions like ggplot for this session of R. I can run this, and let's see. It looks like I misspelled tidyverse, so it looks like I had a tidvy. So let me just fix that there, tidYV. So you'll probably make a mistake like that sometime during this semester. So probably good that I made it with you there. Okay, and if you libraried it correctly, you should see something kind of like this. If you see these little red X's, these are not errors. They're just letting you know that there's what's called conflicting packages between base R and tidyverse, but those are not going to be a problem for us, so you don't have to worry about those. All right, so I think that should be just about it for packages.